Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. The first knock already sounded wrong. The second knock hit harder and closer together, almost frantic. My name is Jake and I'm 38 now. I still hear that knock when I try to sleep. That night I froze in my hallway and just listened for trouble. The second knock hit harder and closer together, almost frantic. I opened the door and my stepdaughter stood there alone. Mia held a backpack by one strap and nothing else. Her cheeks were streaked and she would not look up. She said one thing, so quiet I almost missed it. "Can I stay here tonight?" No hello and no explanation, just that. My brain did that stupid thing where it lagged behind. I stared at her shoes while my stomach climbed into my throat. Kids do not show up like that unless something is broken. I stepped back and left the door wide open. "Come in," I said, and my voice sounded strange. She crossed the threshold like it might vanish under her feet. The backpack bumped against her leg and she kept a tight grip. There was no suitcase and no coat and nothing that said temporary. She stopped in the hallway like she did not trust the floor. I pulled the door shut and locked it out of habit. "Where's your mom now?" That was my first question, not the smartest one. Mia wiped under one eye and stared at the wall. "Home," she said, and her jaw tightened. Her voice had that flat tone kids use when they test adults. "She knows I'm here." I did not buy that for a second, and she knew it. Her hand tightened again on the strap and the bag creaked. You know that feeling when your body moves before your brain? I already had my phone out before I chose my words. "I'm going to call her, so just relax here a minute." I tapped her mom's name and held the phone to my ear. Voicemail picked up immediately like she had waited to decline it. I hung up and tried again because denial is a stubborn thing. Same result and straight to voicemail with the same recorded cheer in my ear. She might have her phone on silent. Even I did not believe that line, and I was the one saying it. Mia watched my face like the screen was printed on my forehead. I sent a quick text instead because that felt less confrontational. "Your daughter is here with me, call me now." I stared at the typing bubble that never showed up. Minutes passed and my screen stayed empty and my jaw got tight. That was when the wrong feeling in my chest turned heavy. I went back to Mia and leaned against the doorway. She had not moved from the spot where I left her. The backpack still hung from her hand and her shoulders looked smaller. "Look at me for a second." She dragged her gaze up like it weighed 100 pounds. "Tell me what happened tonight and skip everything before that." She took a breath that shook more than I wanted to see. "We argued." Her voice barely made it across the 3 steps between us. "She got mad and I got mad and then I left." Teenager translation, that could mean anything from slammed doors to World War. I felt that old reflex kick in where I wanted to downplay it. You do not want every fight to be a crisis, you know. Then I looked at her hands and saw the way she clutched that strap. Kids do not hold bags like that when they plan to go back. "Who told you to leave, you or her?" She flinched like the word itself hit her arm. "She said it first." My throat went dry and everything in me hoped I misheard that. "She told me to get out and not come back." I wish I could say I believed her right away. I believed her mostly, just not the forever part. You hear about parents throwing kids out and it always sounds distant. It does not sound like your life until it knocks on your door. So I told myself this was ugly but fixable and maybe blown up. "Okay," I said, and my voice came out too calm. "You can crash here tonight and we will talk to her in the morning." She stared at me like I had offered to walk her into traffic. "She will not open the door for me." I brushed that off in my head and called it teenage drama. Later I would replay that one line over and over. In that moment I shrugged it off because denial felt safer. I told her to drop the bag by the couch and sit. She obeyed too fast, like the order relieved her somehow. That speed scared me more than the words about the door. I ordered pizza without asking what she wanted because I needed a task. My hands shook enough that I almost dropped my card while I typed. She sat curled into the corner of the couch and watched the floor. She did not scroll her phone or play music or do anything. I realized she was waiting for me to tell her this was temporary. The food showed up and the smell filled the room fast. Normally, that would have pulled her to the table before I finished paying. This time she walked over slow and sat without touching a slice. "You need to eat something," I said and heard how useless it sounded. She picked at the crust and never took a real bite. "Was Mark there when you two argued?" I tried to sound casual and probably failed badly. Her fingers froze on the crust and her shoulders went rigid. "Yeah." Just that one word and the whole air in the room shifted. I pretended to adjust the pizza box so I did not stare. "Did he say something to you or about you or what?" She pressed her lips together until the color drained from them. "He told her stuff." "What stuff?" She shook her head once and her eyes filled but did not spill. "If I tell you, you will call her and she will freak out more." She was not wrong about that and we both knew it. I had already pictured myself driving over there and pounding on her door. I still thought this was something we could smooth over with a talk. I changed tactics because pushing her now would only shut her down. "Okay," I said and forced myself to lean back. "Tonight you are safe here and that is the only rule." She stared at me for a long second like she was testing that word. "She told me to leave because of him." There it was, dropped on my table between cold pizza slices. Not because of bad grades or missed chores or some normal teenage mess. Because of him, the man I barely knew and already did not trust. I told her we would handle it, and she nodded like she wanted to believe me. I had no idea that this was the moment everything in our lives tilted. I pounded on her front door before I could rethink anything. Mia hovered behind me, toes right on the edge of the mat. I wanted this over fast and somehow clean. She twisted the sleeve of her hoodie until the fabric looked painful. I kept my fist up like I might knock again if nobody answered. The lock clicked and the door cracked open just a few inches. Her face appeared in the gap first, smooth and weirdly polite. Then she pulled the door wider like this was some random visit. "You cannot just show up here without warning." Her gaze skipped over me and landed straight on Mia like a laser. I moved aside so she could see all of Mia. "We need to talk inside, not on your porch." She kept the door almost against her leg like a barrier. Mia pressed closer to my back and I felt her shaking start again. For a second I thought she might bolt before anything even started. My ex hesitated, tongue pressed against her cheek while she weighed her options. "Fine, come in, but this is not a good time." She stepped back and let the door swing wider. I walked in first on purpose so Mia did not have to cross that threshold alone. From the hallway I already heard another pair of footsteps and my jaw clenched. He showed up halfway down the hall like he had been listening. Mark gave me that relaxed half grin people use when they want you off balance. Mia shrank behind my arm so fast I almost missed it. There it was, one tiny reaction that punched through all my doubts. He opened his arms a little like he expected a hug that no one moved to give. "What is this, some surprise inspection?" His voice carried that fake amusement that hides something sharper underneath. I ignored him and focused on her because she was the one with power here. "Mia needs to stay with me for a while." I kept my tone steady, but everything inside me felt wired and ready to snap. She laughed once, short and loud, like I just told a bad joke. "Excuse me," she ran out because she did not get her way. The word "ran" hit me right in the chest. Mia gripped the back of my shirt and whispered from somewhere near my shoulder. "You know that is not true, and you know why I left." I turned just enough so I could see her, without losing eye contact. "Did you tell her to go or not?" My ex folded her arms tight and leaned against the wall like a judge. "I told her if she wanted to act grown she could stay somewhere else." She tossed that line out like it meant nothing while Mia flinched behind me. You ever hear words that sound almost casual but land like a punch? That sentence sat there between us, and I felt my ears ring. "So you did tell her to leave and you let her walk out?" She rolled her eyes and waved a hand toward Mark like he was backup. "He is the one who feels uncomfortable here, not her." My head snapped toward him so fast my neck actually popped. Uncomfortable how exactly, because that word covers a lot. He lifted his shoulders and spread his palms up, brow scrunched like he was hurt. "She follows me around a lot and keeps trying to be close." I was watching him dig this hole and somehow still thought we could climb out. My ex locked onto that story like it was gospel. See, this is what we were talking about last night after you stormed off. You make him feel weird in his own house. She looked right past Mia and addressed me like I had dragged a problem to her door. Do you understand how serious that is for him if anyone hears about this? I could not believe we were standing here worried about his feelings first. She is a teenager and he is a grown man. The second that came out of my mouth, his yes hardened. Mia edged closer until she was almost under my arm and I heard her breathing spike. She did not do anything wrong coming to me for help. Mia tugged on my sleeve once and then dug in her pocket. Her phone shook in her hand while she unlocked the screen. He texted me last week about that stupid movie night. She opened the message thread and held it where we all could see. I read the line and felt something in my stomach drop through the floor. The text from him was short and smug, like he knew exactly what he was doing. Do not tell your mom we had our own private movie night, with a winky face at the end. I felt heat climb up my neck because suddenly his story did not match anything. Mia kept her arm extended even though her fingers were clearly cramping around the phone. My ex stared at the screen and her mouth tightened instead of dropping open. This is nothing and you are twisting it into something dirty. Her voice rose on dirty like she was offended on his behalf. He just wanted to include her, and you know how teenagers flirt with ideas. Mark finally stepped closer and tried to look wounded instead of cornered. If anyone else sees that, it ruins my reputation, not hers. So your problem here is his reputation and not your kid feeling unsafe. I heard my voice drop into that low register I get when I am done playing nice. My ex glanced toward the window like neighbors might hear and lowered her own tone. She accused Mia of exaggerating and chasing attention because she cannot stand rules. That line told me more about where this was headed than anything else so far. Mia withdrew her phone and folded in on herself like someone had pulled her plug. I wanted to keep arguing, but every answer from them just pushed us further from any real safety. Come on, go grab your stuff from your room. The words popped out before I even thought through what would happen if she refused. That was the moment everything really broke in front of all three of us. You are not going back in that room until you apologize to him. My ex planted her feet and reached for the banister like she owned the stairs. Mia froze halfway toward the hallway, eyes locked on her mother like she still hoped for a crack. I watched the hope die in real time, and it did something permanent to me. We walked out with nothing but the clothes on her back and their version of events echoing behind us. She slammed my car door and missed the seatbelt latch twice. I watched her hands fumble and I did not touch her. The engine idled while she stared straight ahead. For a second I thought she might bolt down the street. Then she clicked the buckle and whispered without looking at me. Do not ask anything until we get back. Her voice scraped across my nerves more than the slam did. I wanted to argue because every second felt urgent. Instead I nodded and pulled away from that house. The whole drive home I chewed the inside of my cheek bloody. Inside the apartment she dropped onto the couch like gravity doubled. She did not reach for the remote or her phone. Her shoes stayed on, which is how I knew she was somewhere else. I poured 2 glasses of water and carried them in. She took one, barely sipped, then set it on the table with a small clack. Start from the very first time he made you feel off. The words came out harsher than I meant. Her shoulders tightened and she rubbed a thumb along the rim. I am not making anything up. I know you are not, and that is why I am asking. She drew her knees up and wrapped her arms around them. First time was months ago when Mom was at work. He walked past me and mentioned my body like it was a joke. She glanced up at me, checking if I was already dismissing it. He told me I was getting curves and should not tease him. Something inside my chest lurched and I tried to latch onto logic. Maybe he thought he was being clumsy and funny. Her eyes went cold at that and she shook her head once. He smirked when he said it and looked me up and down. That is not how normal people joke. She pulled her phone out with slow, careful movements. You saw the movie text, but that was not the first one. She unlocked the screen and pushed the device into my hand. Scroll up and keep going until the top. My thumb dragged through line after line and my stomach got heavier. He reached out whenever my mom left the house. Where are you at? Show me your outfit today. Do not tell her I asked. Every message had that little nudge toward secrecy. I did not breathe right while I went through them. There were compliments that felt wrong on my tongue even reading them. Jokes about me being his favorite in the house. Half remarks about sharing secrets when mom was not around. No single sentence screamed crime, but the pattern crawled under my skin. Why did you not bring this to me earlier? The question came out sharper than I wanted and she flinched. You two hate each other when you talk about her. You would have gone over there and blown everything up. Then I still have to live with them while you go home. That landed harder than anything I had read on the screen. She was not wrong about how I handle conflict. I am the guy who argues loud, then walks out before I explode. I watched her wrap her arms tighter, as if bracing for me to snap now. Instead, I put her phone down and slid it closer to her again. Tell me about when you were in the same room. Her head dropped forward and she stared at her socks. He waits until she leaves to run errands or take calls outside. He sits too close on the couch and drapes his arm behind me. If I shift away, he laughs and tells me not to be shy. She swallowed hard and her voice thinned. One time he stood in the hallway and did not move. I needed the bathroom and he leaned there and kept talking. When I tried to step around, he brushed against my hip on purpose. I locked the door and sat on the floor and shook. I felt my hands curl into fists on my knees. Every piece of me wanted to grab my keys and go right back. I also knew if I charged in again with nothing but fury, we would lose. That is the part I hate most admitting now. I chose to think strategy while she sat there replaying that hallway. He ever touch you anywhere else? The words tasted like metal coming out. She hesitated long enough that I almost told her to forget it. He popped me with a towel when I wore shorts. Then he laughed and said I made it hard to behave. Her face twisted when she repeated that line. I hated him more in that second than I thought possible. You told your mom any of this before last night? I asked her about the hallway once. She snapped that I was twisting things to wreck her relationship. There it was, the part I had not seen from the outside. She had already tried the one person who should have grabbed her and believed her. Instead, she got accused of trying to sabotage everything. I felt sick thinking about how alone she must have felt standing in that kitchen. If I had known then what I know now, I would have kicked the door in. I pushed the phone back toward her and forced my voice steady. Forward every message from him to me right now. She blinked like she misheard and wiped her nose with her sleeve. If he texts again, I want it on my phone too. We are not arguing feelings with them anymore, we are bringing proof. She started tapping, thumbs moving faster as she worked through each thread. Every time the device buzzed with an outgoing share, my chest tightened. This feels like I am snitching, she whispered. I leaned in and made sure she was looking at me. This is you protecting yourself and I am backing you up. By the time she finished, there was a chain of screenshots crowding my messages. Images of their conversations sat there like a row of loaded traps. I stared at the last one where he told her not to tell her mom again. In that moment, I understood we were past any easy fix. The next step would either shield her or blow our world up for good. His name flashed on her screen before I finished saving the last screenshot. Mia jerked like she had been burned and almost dropped the phone. We were still at my table with both devices between us. I watched her pupils blow wide as she read. Whatever courage she had earlier just drained out of her face. Do not open it yet. My voice came out low and rough, more warning than request. She froze with her thumb hovering over the notification bar. My own phone buzzed with another forwarded image at the same time. For a second, the room felt way too small for the three of us. He is going to keep messaging. I could hear my pulse in my ears as I spoke. If we catch him now while you are here, he cannot twist this later. Mia nodded once, quick and shaky. She slid the alert down so the full text popped up. The message was short and clever in that nasty way. You better calm down before you wreck things for both of us. Your mom already thinks you want too much attention. Remember how nice I have been and keep this between us. He added a little wink again, like this was some inside joke. I will not lie, my first instinct was to drive over there right then. Kick in his door, drag him outside, let my fists do the talking. That is the version of me that has got me in trouble before. The older version sitting at that table knew losing control would cost her. So I gripped the edge of the chair until my hand hurt instead. Reply to him, but only what I tell you. Mia swallowed hard and nodded without arguing this time. We both stared at the keyboard while I tried to think fast. Thank you for being nice to me, I do not want problems. Type that and nothing else. She did it slowly, thumb pausing over almost every word. My stomach twisted as each letter appeared on the screen. Before she hit send, I stopped her and took a picture of the draft. Then I let her send it while I watched the little arrow launch. We sat there breathing too loud while the typing bubble appeared. See, knew you were smarter than that. His answer popped in almost instantly like he had been waiting. I will talk to your mom and smooth this out. You just act normal next time I see you. The phone buzzed again with another share to my number. That last line hit me harder than anything he had written before. He already planned more contact with her like nothing had changed. Still treating her like she was part of some secret partnership. I felt heat crawl up my neck and into my jaw. At that point I knew there was no version of this where I stayed quiet. In the conversation I told her. Tell him you're staying with me and leave it there. She stared at the screen, then started typing with clipped motions. I am at my dad's place now, I need space from everything. We watched again as the message went through. The bubble popped up, vanished, then came back. Do not trash talk me to him, your mom will regret picking him over you. My chest tightened at that line because it slipped and told on him. He already knew exactly how that house worked and what she feared most. I snapped another photo and sat back. Okay, that is enough contact with him for now. Block his number on your phone. She did not hesitate, just opened the settings and hit block. When it confirmed, she let out a breath that sounded almost painful. I mirrored the block on my own device because I needed distance too. Still, the screenshot stayed in my gallery lined up like evidence bags. At that point, I did not trust my temper or my memory. I backed everything up to a folder with the most boring label I could think of. I remember my hands shaking over something as simple as a file name. We are going to show this to your mother. The words came out more calm than I felt, which terrified me honestly. If I went in screaming, she would defend him out of reflex. If I brought hard proof and kept my voice steady, she would have to choose. I already knew that choice might not land where Mia needed it to land. She is not going to listen to you. Mia pulled her hoodie tighter around herself like armor. You saw how she looked at me over there. I know, and that is exactly why I am not going back to that doorway. We meet her in public, where she has to at least pretend to hear. I grabbed my keys, then stopped and tossed them back on the counter. No sudden ambush this time, that had already failed once. Instead, I unlocked my phone and brought up her contact. I typed instead of calling because I needed a record of every word. We need to talk tonight, away from the house, it is serious. The 3 dots came up almost at once, which gave me a weird jolt. So she had seen the earlier messages and ignored them by choice. What are you dragging this out for now? I stared at the question and counted to 5. Diner by the highway at 7, only you, it is about Mia's safety. She took longer this time, long enough for me to doubt she would answer. Finally, a single line appeared. You are being dramatic, but I will come for an hour. The time matched what I named the place too. I read it out loud so Mia heard the commitment burned into the text. I do not want to go. Her voice came out small, almost like the first night at my door. You are not, I told her, not this round. This part is on me, you have done enough. Her shoulders dropped a little while her eyes stayed fixed on my screen. The next hour crawled and jumped at the same time. I made sure her phone stayed with me, not beside her. I wrote down the diner address for myself even though I knew it by heart. I also did something I never thought I would do in my life. I scrolled through contacts until I found a lawyer I knew from work. I did not call him, I was not ready for that cliff yet. Instead, I drafted a message that I never actually sent that night. Something about custody and tense situations and needing advice. Even typing it made the whole situation feel more permanent. It was my first hint that this was going to turn into paperwork in years. As 7 got closer, I changed my shirt twice and hated myself for it. I was not going there to impress anyone, but my body did not care. I kept picturing her rolling her eyes at anything that looked messy. Old habits die hard when you have shared a house with someone like that. In the end, I went with the one that did not show sweat. Right before I left, I checked on Mia in the living room. She had a show playing but was not blinking at the screen. I sat on the arm of the couch and waited until she met my eyes. I will not let him twist this into your fault. You might not like how far I go though. Go as far as you need. Her reply came out steady and it knocked the air out of me. Just do not send me back there if she picks him. That line sliced cleaner than anything he had texted. I promised out loud that I would not. The diner sat right off the X. It pulled in every type of driver. I pulled into a space where I could see the door clearly. For a minute I considered just driving away and calling someone official instead. Then I pictured Mia's face if I did not at least try one more time. So I got out and walked in before I could lose my nerve. She was already there in a booth, of course. On her phone, nails tapping the screen, posture perfect. She did not stand when I approached, just gave a tight smile. You look tense, she said, like I was overreacting again. My jaw clenched so hard I heard a little click in my ear. I slid into the opposite seat and put my phone on the table. No small talk, no how are you. We are here because your boyfriend will not stop contacting your daughter. Her mouth flattened at the word boyfriend, but she did not correct it. I opened the gallery and set the device between us. She ignored it for a second on purpose, which drove me insane. A server came by and asked if we needed menus. Coffee, I answered, then looked at her. Water, she murmured, eyes still anywhere except the screen. Once we were alone again, I pushed the phone closer. Read the top one, then scroll down. I kept my hands folded in my lap so she would not see them shake. She picked up the phone with 2 fingers like it might stain her. Her eyes moved, then stopped, then jumped to the next bubble. Her shoulders stiffened very slightly, which she probably thought I missed. He would never hurt her. That was her first sentence after about 30 seconds of silence. I did not respond, just tapped the latest message with a wink. He told her not to talk to you or anyone else about this. He knows exactly what lines he is crossing. You are reading tone that is not there. She dragged the phone closer on the table like she wanted to shield it. He is trying to keep things calm because she lies when she is angry. My laugh came out louder than I meant, and a couple people looked over. You think a kid invented all those lines and sent them to herself? She glared up at me then, eyes bright and furious. You have always wanted to believe the worst about any man I date. This is just another excuse to drag me through drama. I leaned in and lowered my voice so it would not carry. I did not write those messages and neither did you, and we both know that. She went back to the screen and scrolled farther. Her expression finally cracked when she hit the line about being his favorite. A tiny wrinkle formed between her brows, then smoothed out again. He is just being friendly, she muttered. He jokes like that with everyone. I had to grip my own knee under the table to keep from slamming my hand down. Friendly people do not tell kids to keep secrets from their parents. They do not comment on their bodies and outfits over and over. They do not corner them in hallways and make them squeeze past. Her head snapped up at that last part and she set the phone down. She told you that too. More than once. I kept my focus right on her face, not on the coffee arriving. If you do not step in now, you are choosing him. She scoffed and sat back, folding her arms across her chest. You are being extreme as always, it is not that black and white. Here is the thing, it actually was that simple for me at that table. I could feel my voice smoothing out in a way that scared me. I told her I intended to talk to a professional if this did not stop. Therapist, maybe an attorney, maybe people who handle child safety. Every new word made her eyes sharpen like I had pulled a knife. You go to some agency with this nonsense and you will regret it. She leaned forward again, nails scratching faintly on the table. I could lose housing, I could lose him, I could lose everything. That was the order she said it in, and yes, I caught that too. Mia's name never made the list. I sat back and let that sink in for a beat. You already threw her out to protect your relationship. I have the text where he practically admits you picked him. I flipped to the newer thread and turned the screen back to her. Her face went pale when she saw the part about her regretting choosing him. He did not mean it like that, she whispered. He was just upset. My voice came out flat when I answered. He meant exactly what he wrote, he just did not expect anyone else to see it. She grabbed the phone and shoved it toward me like she wanted it gone. You are not dragging my entire life through the mud over teenage mood swings. I felt this weird calm settle over me, which is never a good sign. Then say it clearly so I can stop pretending there is a middle ground. Do you believe her or him? The question hung there between us with the clink of dishes in the background. She stared at the wall over my shoulder instead of my face. I think she likes attention, and he is an easy target. Her answer came slow, like she was building it as she spoke. I think you feed into this because you hate that I am. Moved on. My chest tightened in a way that had nothing to do with jealousy. I realized I had just watched her pick a story where her kid was the problem. I am going to keep her with me. The words left my mouth before I fully weighed them. You can have supervised visits if you get into therapy and drop him. Her jaw actually dropped at that, then snapped shut again. You do not have the right to make those demands. Maybe not yet, but I can sure try. I told her straight that I would document every message and every exchange. If she tried to drag Mia back to that house, I would fight it. Not with fists this time, but with every stupid grown-up route I could find. I did not care if it ruined whatever version of stability she thought she had. She stared at me like I was a stranger across that table. You are going to turn my own child against me. You already did that yourself, I answered, you just chose not to notice. For a moment her face flickered like she might break and choose differently. Then she reached for her purse and ended it. I will not leave him over some text that can be misread. You want to be the hero, fine, you keep her for now. Enjoy playing full-time parent until she decides you are the villain too. She slid out of the booth and stood, spine perfectly straight, leaving me sitting there with cold coffee and a decision that felt like a guillotine. I watched her walk toward the door and did not call after her. No last plea, no final warning, nothing. Because deep down I knew begging would not change a mind already that fixed. Instead, I pulled my phone back and copied every screenshot to a secure folder. If this turned ugly later, I would need all of it. On the drive home, the silence in the car felt carved out. No radio, no calls, just the hum of the road and my thoughts. I kept replaying her words about losing housing and him and everything. Not once did she mention losing her kid until it was a weapon. That detail still makes my stomach twist when I think about it now. When I stepped back into the apartment, Mia looked up fast. Her eyes scanned my face like it held a verdict. I kicked off my shoes and sat across from her on the rug. She did not ask what happened, which told me she already knew. I told her anyway because she deserved to hear the choice out loud. She chose to stay with him. My voice cracked once, which I hated, but I let it happen. You stay here with me, and I am going to make that official. Mia nodded slowly, lips pressed together so tight they trembled. Then she reached across the space and grabbed my wrist like an anchor. Do not go back there for me if she changes her mind. The way she said it told me she had already run that future in her head. She knew there was a version where her mom called with tears and apologies. We both knew those tears would be more about losing control than losing her. I promised her again that I would not trade her safety for anyone's comfort. That night, after she finally fell asleep on the couch, I stayed up. I wrote down a timeline of everything, every message, every conversation. Every choice her mother had made in the last few days. My handwriting got messier as the anger wore off and the fear set in. I knew the next call I made about this would not be to her mother. The door buzzer went off while Mia brushed her teeth. My stomach flipped so hard I had to grab the counter. I had made one call that morning and now it was payback. The screen by the door showed a woman with a folder. I knew exactly what kind of folder that was. I buzzed her in before my courage had time to argue. Mia stepped out of the bathroom and froze mid-sentence. She had been complaining about a math quiz a second earlier. Now her eyes went from my face to the door display. She understood faster than I hoped and faster than I wanted. Is that them? Her voice sounded dry like she had swallowed sand. Yeah, I answered, it is the person I told you about. She nodded once and wiped her palms on her sweatpants. She did not ask for more details because we were out of time. The knock came polite, almost gentle, like that made any difference. I opened and let the woman step inside with her careful smile. She introduced herself and showed a badge I barely glanced at. My focus stayed on Mia standing behind me with crossed arms. The woman clocked that posture right away like she had seen it often. Can we sit somewhere and talk with both of you? Her tone stayed even, slightly warm, almost rehearsed but not fake. I gestured toward the table where last night I wrote the timeline. The notebook still sat there, pages crowded with angry handwriting. Her eyes flicked to it and then straight back to Mia. You tell it first, I said before I mess it up. Mia shot me a quick look, half grateful and half terrified. The worker nodded at her and waited without filling the silence. That patience made me more nervous than any rapid questioning woo. LD. Mia cleared her throat twice before any words actually came out. He kept talking to me when Mom left the house. Her hands stayed flat on the table, fingers spread, nails bitten. He would text me, ask where I was, ask what I wore. Then she described the hallway, the couch, the stupid towel snap. Her voice shook, but her story stayed straight as a line. The woman did not interrupt, which impressed me and scared me. She wrote a few points, nodded once, kept her eyes mostly on Mia. She asked simple questions, not the kind that twist your words. Where did this happen? Who was home? Where was your room? Each answer made the air feel heavier, not lighter. When they turned to me, my throat went dry instantly. I walked her through the screenshots and the diner meeting. I repeated the part about the choice as calmly as possible. Still, I heard the raw edge under every sentence I pushed out. I hated how much of my guilt leaked through my voice. You understand we have to talk to her mother as well. That sentence landed like a dropped weight right in my chest. I knew it was coming, I still hated hearing it. Mia's foot started bouncing under the table, heel thudding lightly. Do not let them take me back there, she whispered. The worker turned to her and spoke slowly, every word precise. My job is to make sure you stay safe long term. Right now you are here, and that will not change today. We are going to look at everything before any decisions happen. She held Mia's gaze until the bouncing slowed, not fully. I signed papers, way more than I understood that first day. Temporary placement, shared information, permission for interviews. My signature looked different every time because my hand would not settle. The worker gave me a card and a loose plan for follow-up. Check-ins, school visits, maybe a court date if things escalated. When the door shut behind her, the apartment felt weirdly large. Mia leaned on the table and let out one long, shaky breath. So now people in suits will know everything about my life. Her attempt at humor fell flat, but I still heard the effort. I stepped closer, not touching, just within reach if she wanted. I did this, I told her, I invited them in. You get to be mad about that if you need to. She studied my face like she was digging for any doubt. You also could have done nothing and kept her happy. That one line cut deeper than any insult she could throw. The next weeks moved in jumps, like a video with missing frames. One day a caseworker sitting with the school counselor and Mia. Another day me in a stale office with a legal pad. I finally sent that message to the lawyer from my contact list. Within an hour he called and started talking strategy instead of comfort. He listened while I stumbled through the mess in rough order. He asked about custody orders, old agreements, who had what on paper. Turns out I had more leverage than I thought, not a lot. He explained words like petition and emergency and guardian in plain language. I hated that it all sounded like some slow game while Mia waited. We filed for modification and temporary primary placement. I know that sounds cold, but that was the phrase that mattered. It meant on paper she lived with me until a judge shifted it. Getting that order took time, which stretched and snapped our nerves. Every form felt like it moved slower than my fear. During that stretch her mother called, but never from the house landline. Always from her cell, always in the evening, always on her terms. First few times I let it go to voicemail and listened alone. Same pattern each time, same tight emotional script, barely any variation. She cried hard, then pivoted to anger, then circled back to pleading. You poison her against me. That was her favorite line, always near the start. You have no idea what he has done for us financially. She painted him as some perfect provider I refused to respect. Then she begged me to remember when we were younger and stupid. I deleted those in the beginning, I will admit that. Not because I wanted to erase them, but they got inside me. They made that old guilty part of my brain twitch awake. The part that wondered if I was overreacting, ruining everything again. I learned pretty quick that shame loves to replay itself alone. One night the phone lit up while we were eating takeout. Mia stared at the caller ID longer than I did. Put it on speaker, she said, eyes locked on the screen. You sure? I asked, though I already knew the answer. She nodded once and set her fork down carefully like it might shatter. I hit speaker and kept the device in the center of the table. Her mother's voice poured out raw, thick with tears and frustration. Baby, please call me, I am losing my mind here. He swears he never meant anything wrong by those texts. The agency is asking questions and I cannot sleep. She did not know she was on speaker, which felt wrong and necessary. You told them things and you let your father twist everything. They are looking at me like I am a monster. There was a loud sniff and a shaky breath on her end. Do you understand what this is doing to my life? Mia's mouth curled, not quite a sneer, not quite a sob. I stayed still, forcing myself to be furniture for this moment. Her mother kept going, voice jumping between sweet and sharp. If you just tell them you exaggerated, we can fix this. He promised to be more careful with his words around you. More careful with his words, not his behavior. That detail stuck in my brain while she rambled. Mia finally reached across the table and pressed the mute icon. Her hand shook so much she had to tap twice. She looked at me, eyes wet and steady at the same time. Can you answer for me? That request hit harder than anything in that call. You sure you want to hand that over? I asked. I already know what she will say to me, she whispered. I want her to hear you state it like it is. I unmuted the call and raised the phone to my mouth. You keep talking about your life, not hers. The line went quiet on her end for a few beats. Then the anger came back sharp and loud through the tiny speaker. You have no idea what kind of pressure I am under. I kept my voice low, not gentle, just controlled like a held door. You had a choice when we showed you those messages. You decided your comfort mattered more than your kid's safety. Now other people are looking at that choice and you are furious. That anger belongs to you, not to her and not to me. You are brainwashing her, she snapped. She always liked your house better. At least I own that I messed up plenty, I answered. You still refuse to say out loud that what he did was wrong. She started to protest, but I cut her off for once. Until you can say that sentence clear, you do not get to blame anyone. The silence after that went on so long Mia stepped closer. Her mother finally exhaled, long and shaky, like a balloon losing air. If I dump him, we lose the place, I cannot afford it. Her voice shrank on that, small and bitter and exhausted. You are asking me to ruin my whole world. Your world is already cracked, I said, you just refuse to look. We will manage visits at a neutral spot if you follow the rules. Do therapy, meet with the worker, no contact between him and her. You can build something new if you want it that badly. If you keep him, that is your corner to stand in. She did not answer that part, which told me plenty. Instead, she went back to old hits, how I walked out years ago. How I left her with responsibilities and now wanted to play hero. I let her talk until my hands started to cramp around the phone. Then I ended the call with 2 plain sentences and one final click. Do not call her directly anymore, use the caseworker. Good night. I set the phone down and waited for Mia to react. She stared at the table, then at the blank screen, then at me. You did not yell once, she said, almost amazed. Trust me, I did plenty of yelling in my head. Out loud, I am trying something different, at least for you. After that night, things did not suddenly straighten out, no miracle. We still had home visits, surprise checks, uncomfortable questions. Mia started therapy through a program the agency recommended. The first few sessions left her drained, quiet, snappy over small things. I took it on the chin because that meant she was actually digging. At home, we built routines almost by accident. Homework at the table, dishes together, dumb reality shows when brains were fried. She started leaving her shoes in the doorway, which annoyed me constantly. Then I caught myself one evening, complaining while picking up sneakers. The irritation felt suspiciously like something close to normal. There were nights I messed up, I will not pretend otherwise. I lost patience over messy grades and missed curfews. I raised my voice more than I wanted when she lied about a party. We had one blowout where she screamed that I was controlling her life. For a second I saw her mother's posture and her stance, and it wrecked me. I went to my own therapist after that argument, which I hated. Sat there in a stiff chair talking about anger, control, fear. I admitted that part of me wanted to lock Mia indoors forever. Keep every possible threat 10 miles away no matter the cost. That is not parenting, that is prison, and I knew it. The court date finally landed on a gray morning months into everything. By then Mia had stayed with me long enough that my place felt hers. In the hallway outside the courtroom she squeezed my sleeve. "What if they send me back?" she whispered, breath shaky. I did not lie, I just told her we brought everything we had. Inside, the judge looked tired before we even started. The attorneys talked in that careful, measured tone professionals use. The agency report sat on the bench, thick and heavy. There were interviews from teachers, counselor, RS neighbors, everyone except Mark. He had refused to participate without his own lawyer, which said plenty. Mia chose to speak, which was not required but mattered. She stood straight, hands at her sides, voice clearer than I expected. She did not cry, did not embellish, did not throw extra punches. She described behavior, words, patterns, and her mother's reaction. When she stepped back, my chest hurt with a twisted kind of pride. Her mother spoke too, obviously. She talked about stress, finances, being overwhelmed, being human. She threw around phrases like misinterpretation and misunderstanding. She cried on cue when she mentioned the idea of losing her daughter. She still did not say one simple sentence, the one about him being wrong. The judge noticed that gap, I could tell. He asked her very directly if she believed Mia felt unsafe. She danced around it, missing the point in 17 different ways. He let her finish, then turned to the stack of papers again. My legs shook so badly under the table I hooked them around the chair. In the end, the decision came out in dry, formal language. Primary residence with me, supervised contact with her mother. No unsupervised visits in any space where Mark lived or stayed. Mandatory counseling for her mother if she wanted time restored. The words were plain, but to me they sounded like a heavy door closing. Outside the courtroom, my ex brushed past without meeting my eyes. Her lawyer hurried after her while she wiped at her face. For a second I considered calling her name, offering some olive branch. Then I remembered Mia's hand on my arm in that hallway. I let her walk away into whatever future she picked for herself. In the months after the order, small things shifted inside our place. Mia started leaving a jacket over the same chair every afternoon. Her backpack hit the same spot by the door, a little trail. Her toothbrush stayed in my bathroom, not in a travel case anymore. Those tiny anchors meant more than any legal phrase on a page. Supervised visits happened at a center downtown with bright walls and cameras. Mia went at most of them, skipped a few when she felt drained. Sometimes she came back quiet, sometimes angry, sometimes weirdly hopeful. They talked about school, music, food, anything but the man in question. Every time she returned, she checked all the locks without thinking. We never heard from Mark again directly. I do not know if he pulled back out of fear or boredom. I stopped checking his social media after a while for my own sanity. The agency kept an eye on that house longer than we did. Part of me still expects his name to pop up someday in headlines. Now telling you all this, I can see my own mess clearer. Back then I reacted with my gut, then tried to clean it up. I was furious, scared, petty, stubborn, sometimes all in the same hour. I also showed up again and again, even when I wanted to disappear. I do not know if that makes me good, but it makes me hers. One evening not long ago, we were driving back from the store. Some song she liked blasted through the speakers, windows cracked. At a light, she turned it down without looking at me. "I am glad you did not listen to her that night," she said. "If you had stayed out of it, I think I would have broken." I stared at the traffic signal like it held the right response. I almost told her I had doubted myself 100 times. That I still wake from dreams where a judge sends her back. Instead, I just reached across and bumped her shoulder lightly. "I am glad you knocked on my door," I answered. She laughed once, short and real, then turned the volume up again. We rolled forward when the light changed, wind pushing hair across her face. From the outside, it probably looked like any other car with errands. Inside, I knew every mile was built on two brutal choices. Hers when she walked away from that house, and mine when I refused to return her.